Welcome back to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Collectors Community. For now, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. More news to come over the summer, possibly. We're not going anywhere, though. Well, unless Chris is just like, I've had enough of this. I'll still be here. I'll be talking to myself. Welcome back, everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow us wherever we may end up. This is our weekly comic book review show here, where we get into the comics here. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host Chris, as I forgot to mention here. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on?
And this week, we're going to be talking about new comics for the week of June 26, 2024. As always, spoiler warning, be forewarned. We are going to be showing off some of the art for some of the books. I don't have art for everything today. Kind of in a big disarray here, as I mentioned to Chris before recording time here. Reorganizing things, putting up new bookshelves. That's how much reading we get done over here. So things are a little bit out of sorts right now over here today, but I've been day drinking, so this should be a good one. This should be a good episode here today. And by the time this airs, it'll just be right before Canada's Day for all you guys out there. So if you are from, I saw that. That's what reminded me. So happy Canada's Day for all our Canadian residents that do watch this show. And I guess if you're in the States, I know July 4th is coming up soon for you guys as well. But we are here in Canada, me and Chris. So, shout out to all the Canadian viewers out there. And make sure you like and subscribe, everybody. And this, we give ratings, reviews, we show off the art, we talk about comics on this show. We get sometimes, we have a little fun talk outside of comics as well. So, if you like this show, make sure to like and subscribe and follow. And check us out on Instagram as well, at Late Night Collectors Community. All right, Chris, what do you got for us here?
All right, well, let's talk comics.
Talk comics. Cheers.
Cheers.
Got a blue one here today. A nice mix of liquors in that one.
Are you cleaning out your shelf?
That's right. I told you, we're cleaning up everything around here.
A little bit left.
What's that called? That blue carousel or whatever? The stuff that you mix in there? Yeah, that's what gave it the blue tint there. So, all right. So, happy Canada's Day, everyone. All right, let's go. Blood Hunt number 4, Chris. First up on the docket here today. The Red Band edition, unbagged.
I got my unopened Red Band edition. It's going to be worth big bucks from what I'm getting out of this stuff here. Not.
Yeah.
But, this main series, it's kind of blowing chunks.
Oh, really? I thought this was a stronger issue, actually. This one.
Well, stronger compared to something that hasn't been so strong. Well, they've kind of pedaled back on a whole bunch of things. So far, it's not Blade anymore. Now it's Blade, his body's been taken over by somebody. So kind of the first big swerve has been backpedaled. And didn't Black Panther or T'Challa somehow overcome the pull of the vampire here in this at the end?
Yeah. Well, he's about to get, it looks like he's done for, and then the Avengers come to his aid. He takes out a, Thor was pinned down by a bunch of stakes of some sort, it seemed like, and he went to attack Blade with one of the stakes and kill him. And then he stopped him. And then it turned out he was actually helping Thor out, him break free. And then the Avengers show up. Avengers assemble at the end. One issue to go. Here we go. It's them against.
Is this the one with Doctor Strange going to Doom or no?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I thought that might have been another tie-in issue, but that was a good pull there. Doom really. Doom's a good Doom here.
This is why I said I felt this issue was better, because I don't know if you caught it as well. Not only did we get a great Doom scene here, because Doom is already ready for anything that goes down, it seems, in the Marvel Universe. Yeah. It's like, oh, so your borders are safe from vampires? Of course.
Yeah, what do you mean? You didn't see this coming? I saw this coming a mile ago. This should have happened 10 times already. What are you talking about?
Right. And I mean, of course, Doctor Strange and Doom have a history in the comics as well. They've kind of went up against each other and have helped each other many a times. But the great thing about this, Chris, is that I might be wrong, but I believe what they're teasing here is because Doom says to Doctor Strange, well, I'll help you, but you got to give me the Sorcerer Supreme help. I think
Yeah.
Jed MacKay is going to do a Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange series directly after this because we have one issue to go, Chris, in that series.
Could be.
I think that's the next move because it's not like the Doctor Doom has not been or has gone after the Sorcerer Supreme helm before in the comics. That has absolutely happened. So I think this is what's going to happen. Like, why would he tease it like this in this issue where he threw it out like that with one issue to go in the Doctor Strange series, right? Like, I really think
Strange has got to stop all these stupid reboots. This would be a whole better series of who there are like 35 and just be called Doctor Strange, and Doctor Doom is Doctor Strange for like whatever.
But
10 issues or something.
But Chris, would you not read a Doctor Doom as a Sorcerer Supreme series? I know I would personally.
So. Well, I'd rather follow it through. Like this would make a good Doctor Strange, run altogether. Not these kind of 15-issue series and stopping and starting all the time. I'm not a big fan of that.
That's fair. I don't know. I'm here for it though if it happens. So there's my prediction. Now, if that doesn't happen, I guess we'll see how this plays out. But there's no reference of this, by the way, in the Doctor Strange tie-in recently.
Well, Timeless 2023, there was a panel that did tease Doctor Doom as the Sorcerer Supreme.
I did not know that. See, I think that's gonna happen. And Jed MacKay, if he writes him like he did in this scene, there's a great Doom scene. So I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, I'm here for.
And he has doesn't he have the Strange Academy there already?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
they could be setting up something big here. Who knows?
That was the best part too. And he's like, "Oh yeah, well, he's like, well, first of all, we're gonna need a bunch of magic people." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I can get working on that." And he's like, "No need." And he turns around and like the Strange Academy is there, and like Clea's like, "What the hell are they doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I got the Strange Academy over here." Of course.
Maybe it's better than I thought. Now that we're going through this.
Yeah, that part of the story was fun, but I agree with the Blade stuff, whatever. But this chunk of the issue is pretty strong. I felt like the Doctor Strange stuff. But then the Wrecker shows up. He's got a magical Asgardian.
That was pretty good there. And who, like Khonshu or the
Khonshu?
The Moon Knight Khonshu. He's the one that's trapped in there.
Yeah, and then Moon Knight comes back, and we're going to talk about it later on. I read Vengeance of the Moon Knight this week, also by Jed MacKay, and like that wasn't even apparent or as present in that issue that he had come back. Like at the end of the issue, there's a tease that is happening, but you had to have read Bloodhunt to really kind of see the new Moon Knight in action here. Like you got the Moon at the end of the Vengeance of Moon Knight issue in that one that just came out on the same week, but you don't get like the appearance by the new Moon Knight as you do in this issue. So I think overall this
that's another scene there. Where are all these Moon Knights coming from here? Where they're breaking out there.
Because there's like a bunch of, again, you kind of had to be reading Jed MacKay's Moon Knight. Like he talks about there being other Moon Knights, other
those are all sort of multiversal Moon Knights there.
No, there's just a bunch of people that have taken on the helm of Moon Knight over the years that are like the fists of Khonshu. So like his and Jed MacKay's Moon Knight, like it was very literal in the sense that like, because Moon Knight has always been known as the fist of Khonshu, but then he's like, there's two fists though. So there's the other guy that was in the black Moon Knight outfit was the other fist of Moon Knight, like the other guy that you found out about in his series. Like you kind of had to be reading Jed MacKay's Moon Knight series to kind of get that, but like I think still it's kind of cool to see them all show up here at the end of this Bloodhunt event in this issue, because like that's been kind of on the back burner for this whole first arc of this Vengeance of Moon Knight series. We didn't really know what was happening with all that. And then in this issue, they're like, you see, it is, I don't know if it's he's been resurrected or if this is just somebody else wearing his costume still. We'll see, right? But that's, I still thought it was a really, really cool moment in that regard. So if anything, I think this is really just tying together all the series that Jed MacKay has been writing lately. I don't know how well it's even serving as like a line-wide or event at this point. You know what I mean? But it's working, I feel, for the Jed MacKay helm books. I mean, I feel like we've talked about last week or two ago, like I thought the Avengers was better as a result of this series. The tie-ins actually, I feel like have been getting the most benefit out of this that he's been writing. Honestly, Doctor Strange was okay. Moon Knight is now going to get interesting again. I see, he's still writing all those series, right? So, do you think it's better now or what? You still going to give it a look?
I kind of pumped it up there a little bit from what I was going to give it a 3.5, but I'll give it a 3.75.
I'm gonna go
That's
4.
what-
I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 on this one. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the best issues of the series, but that's only because everything's coming to a close now. Big things
And the
happen.
fifth issue is the final one, right?
Yeah, 5th issue is the final one. I just think that, like, since things are coming together here, big things happen in this issue, and it really kind of, like I said, it tied in together to other interesting possibilities in Jed McKay Helm series. And I'd be very surprised if they don't do Doctor Doom. The fact that you said that was in the Timeless issue and I didn't remember that, I think there's a good chance now that that is what's going to happen. And whether or not Jed McKay writes it, I guess we'll see. Or maybe Hickman's going to write it, because for one, Hickman writes a good Doctor Doom. He just did a one-shot of Doctor Doom very recently, which I felt like people were like, why the hell did he just do a one-shot? Maybe that's the plan. Maybe Jed McKay's stepping away for Doctor Strange because it's not really Doctor Strange, and Hickman's going to come in. I would also be really fucking happy with that too, if that was the case. Yeah, right? So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Next up, Chris, we got the House of Brainiac Action Comics 1066, as well as, I guess, Superman 15, because they're very tied together. They came out the same week, and that's a great cover. Yeah, I really like that.
George Jimenez and Superman 15, a little bit of looks like the Matrix there. Not too bad.
I figured we'd just talk about both these because they're kind of very, I'll go through the art on both, but they're very, this is basically the conclusion of this House of Brainiac here. What'd you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, this Superman, the Action Comics, I was really impressed with this one. Like, just the art there. I don't know if they've got a new artist on this one. And, it's kind of the way the strange paneling going on. I thought it was a really good looking comic, and reminded me maybe of the more the 2000s type comics, where I don't know, I just thought just seemed different than what I've been reading before out of Action Comics. And the Brainiac War, everything's kind of coming together here. I guess Lobo, he kind of has to backtrack, and he was kind of against Superman. Now he's with them. And there's the Brainiac Queen. I don't know what the heck she's up to, but I think Lex and Lena somehow end up in her mind. And I guess one of the big takeaways from this one here is, whatever Brainiac was searching for, there's some missing information. And then it turns out to be family. That's the missing information. I don't know if this is might have been a Fast and Furious plot line before or something, but once you get family, you got everything. And I don't know, I guess that didn't work out though, but then they try and take down the Queen.
Yeah.
And then Superman and his crew have to kind of stop all these Brainiacs from getting to the Queen or something like that. So the storyline wasn't the greatest, but I thought the art was great in this one, and that one really impressed me for a Superman or for an action comic. And then, did you read this one as well?
Yeah. I liked it. I thought the conclusion of this House of Brainiac was good overall. I agree with you. The art was really good. It had a lot of great double page spreads in this issue. And I think it was like a lot more of interesting looking art for like you said, a Superman book. Honestly, like it gave it a little bit more of a serious look and tone. I thought that was kind of needed for this event. And I, the Action Comics was really good. I thought it kind of fleshed out a lot of the stuff that we needed to know before the end of this book. But I think the next book here, we're going to talk about Superman 15. I really enjoyed the Lobo stuff in this issue, especially. I thought that was really cool. But what do you think of this one, Superman 15, the conclusion here?
Yeah, so as for the conclusion, I thought it was a pretty decent ending to this. I got Superman fighting there, and some of the takeaways of this one there is that Superman finally believes that Lex Luthor is on the up and up and really trying to redeem himself. And I guess Lex Luthor almost has to sacrifice himself, because I guess their plan is to go into the Queen Brainiac's, I don't know, memory or something, and then turn her off. And supposedly only Lex is smart enough to do this, or Lena was supposed to be smart or built for this. And yeah, I didn't mind this, but this Lobo stuff you're talking about, I'm not sure I remember too much about what he did in here.
Well, by the end of it, he was just like, hey, you're never going to hear me say this again, but, he's just like, the fact that they wiped out the rest of the Zarnians or whatever, but he's just like, he basically freed Superman. And maybe did that happen in action? No, I think that happened here. He freed Superman.
Yeah, I think it was in the Action Comics that he frees Superman.
Okay. So maybe so then it was that scene I really liked. And then I guess he was able to free him here. And then in this one, they do team up by the end of this issue though. And like I like their kind of like their send-off at the end. He was just kind of like, he gives him props and he's just something about like last sons forever or something like that. You know what I mean? I kind of like that because they are like the last of their planets respectively, right? Both of them. So like again now because all the Zarnians got killed, I like how he just did away with that plot point. They're like, because at first I'm like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. That was what made Lobo kind of cool, is that he was the last of his kind, other than obviously now his offspring, because I know Crush is around or whatever now, right? But anyways, just like the fact that that whole thing they just wiped them all off the board, I thought was
that's good. You don't need more of those people running around.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So I just like the way it ended. Like I liked how they're still at each other's eye. He's like, next time I won't hold back or whatever. Yeah, he's like, you never were holding back or whatever, right? And they fought so that whole kind of feud between these two guys continues, right? I kind of like friendly kind of feud they have. So I did like the way that all played out with Lobo involved in this, because he's definitely a wild card of sorts, let's say, in these type of stories, right? So you don't know where he's going to go with it. He's kind of like an anti-hero of sorts, right? So like I kind of liked how it ended with him in this issue in particular. So
and what do you think about I guess once they get back to the planet there, you get the reunion with Lois and Superman? That looked great.
What was that look Luthor gives there though, where he's like, it looks like his mind's like wiped?
Yeah, I think his mind was wiped when he tried to delete his mind. He got fried.
It's kind of unsatisfying in a way, because obviously this is going to lead into whatever the next storyline is. But he comes there with his daughter there, and she's finally, they're there to say, like, Superman goes up to him and he's just like, listen, Luthor, I was wrong about you. You actually helped out in this situation, blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, he's just like, Lex Luthor, who the hell is that? I'm like, oh no.
Well, when he comes back, he's going to be bad again.
Of course. I mean, it's the same thing that we're seeing happen in Spider-Man right now with the Green Goblin, right? It's one of those things where they just got to like change up the characters enough before they bring them back to prominence. And then by that point, everyone's like, yes, they're back. You know what I mean? It's just really just trying to regain interest in the characters after they overuse them, I feel like, in the comics. Because like it's like Joker with Batman. When you overdo using the Joker, which they do entirely too much these days, he becomes a more boring character as a result, right? Like it's not as special. Like if Joker was appearing once a year in Batman, it would be okay. But now he's got an ongoing series, he's got events, he's in this book, he's in that book, and then they lose some of their what makes them appealing, right? Because they're popping up all over the place. So I don't know, but overall, I thought this was a decent event. Honestly, between the Superman books, I thought it was good overall. What'd you give these books?
Like I said, for the Superman, I'd probably give a 4, and the Action Comics I'd give 4, and Superman 3.75. And the event as a whole, maybe a 3, maybe a 3.75 plus. I thought it was going to get hijacked by the Absolute Power event, but at the end of it, it didn't look like that was such a big deal into it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I give the whole thing a 3.75, and I give both these books actually today a 3.75. But like you said, verging on a 4. It's hard for me because like I'm not the hugest Superman fan, but I think if you were to read this whole event in a collected edition, which I'm sure is going to come out soon between these two series, you're going to be treated with some decent writing. It's a decent event and some really good art along the way. Honestly, I think other than the fact that there was a lull, I feel like in the middle of this, otherwise, I think it was a pretty tightly told event, and it definitely kept our interest week to week when we talked about it. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Power Girl number 10, which I know was also a tie-in to the House of Brainiac. Chris, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, got a cover here. Yeah.
Nice one. Who drew that?
I forget who did this.
Oh, no worries.
I don't even know if I ordered the variant cover, but maybe it's not even from my LCS. Who knows? But anyways, as a tie-in, this time wasn't really necessary at all. The covers there and the solicitations always look good. I got Power Girl and Crush. We're running around doing what they do, and here they're teaming up Because I guess there's a few Zarnians just kind of, they're Zarnians, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's a few of them still, I guess, floating around on Earth that didn't go back with the mothership there when Brainiac took off. And I don't know, they have some sort of gun that just shoots things and brings everywhere and or animates things. You know, like if you shoot I don't know, whatever, a mailbox, the mailbox freaking becomes a monster or something like that. So they're trying to figure out what goes on here. Crush is kind of running with a team. I think they call them the Holiday Girls or something, and they're all kind of captured by the Zarnians there. And I guess Power Girl and Crush got to come together to get together a plan to try and fix them. And they do that. I know Power Girl ends up in some lab. There's some, some funny banter between them back and forth. And they come up with making an EMP to turn off those guns. And then they just go there and kick ass. But that was okay, but something that wasn't key to the whole Brainiac event. And I think in the end, when everybody returns, when Power Girl gets a thumbs up from Superman or something for kind of taking care of the city while he was away. Nothing crazy. I'd give it a 3.5.
All right. And then next up, one I didn't have time to read in time for the show, but I read all the other issues, so I'll have to go back. That's Jackpot and Black Cat #4, the conclusion of this miniseries. Did you pick this up or no?
I thought I had it on my pull list, but I wasn't there when I went to pick it up. And, I'm not really asking questions. If it's not there, oh, well, maybe I can pick this up in a dollar bid in a couple of years somewhere. But it's a nice cover, though. It's a Phil Noto cover.
It is, yeah.
And, the story has been decent. It's just that Jackpot character is just baloney. And and that Paul guy, he's even worse in here. Like, this Paul guy might be so bad he's becoming good. That's how bad he is here. Like, he's just running away all the time. They write him as such a wimp. But you almost gotta start feeling sorry for this guy. Like, it's not his fault he's written so badly. But otherwise, whatever. There's that Obscure has been sending out texts that get everybody in trouble or whatever. And there's the Owl there. I think Black Cat and I forget what the other character's name is. Whatever, Black Cat's girlfriend. They stole like 10 million from the Owl. And then the girlfriend and Black Cat, she's trying to tempt Black Cat. Let's just get out of here. We got the money. We can go. But then Black Cat's upset that her girlfriend put out a hit on Mary Jane or Jackpot there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They're just fighting some henchmen there. And I don't know. She gets some freaking crazy, just those power sets, whatever she rings up. That's just baloney, but I guess there's a lot of talk there. Like, I don't know why Mary Jane is giving freaking Felicia like superhero advice and all this stuff. She's saying, "Oh, I'm your friend now. We're besties, and I'm not gonna let you go. You can always trust me and all this stuff." Like, come on, get out of here.
So
3. That's all I can say. 3.25. There's some good art panels there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that story is just baloney.
Yep. Maybe I won't go back and read it now. I read the first 3 with you, but I don't know. All right, next up we got Gromits #2. I don't have the art for this, unfortunately, but this is really good. I'm still really thoroughly enjoying this book, and I learned a little bit more about it, I think, after the first issue came out. I may or may not have said this, having the knowledge at that point when the first issue came out, but this is basically this story is like reimagined as if the 2 characters that were following this, that are kids that are in their teenagers, they are skaters and friends, as if Rick Remender and Brian Posehn, the co-writers of this book, were friends back in the 80s somehow, because these stories that they're telling on this they were skateboarders, kind of bit of outcasts that kind of, like really fell into this hobby and found like, a group and friends as a result of it at that time. And they wrote in the back of the first issue, basically like the first issue when the guy's brace wire came out of his face after he got into an accident, a skateboarding accident, I did mention happened to Brian Posehn, he mentioned. So I guess like this is like reimagined as if these two characters in the book, because one of them is literally named Rick, which I didn't catch on to in the first issue. Were their combined experiences as skateboarders back then in the 80s. Like they're kind of trying to tell one-off stories in each issue about some things that may have happened to them or how it was back then in that time period being a skateboarder and this kind of stuff. So in this issue, it's really fun. Like they talk about these guys where these two, it's just like they're talking about how like parents aren't really present during this time period. This is like a different time. Like, and if you've watched any like 80s movies, it kind of feels like that too. And like the kid goes over to meet his new friend that he met at this school. Rick goes to meet up with him, and meanwhile, like he lives with his grandparents. He doesn't live with his folks. Like they're the ones that take care of him. And he's kind of comes from like a poor family, it seems like. So he doesn't really have his own money. And they go out and they go to like Taco Bell to grab food. And then they grab food. And the kid, you know, he's like, "Oh, this is on you." Right. He says to Rick, he's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I got you this time." And while he's there, he like secretly goes and asks for like an application to work there without him knowing. And later on, they meet up with some, like, you see some girls, like a group of 3 girls that skateboard, and they, go up to, try to flirt with them. And at first they kind of brush them off, and then they end up seeing them later on, and they all become friends, and they go skateboarding. And like during this whole scenario, like his application for Taco Bell falls out of his pocket, and like the one girl finds it. It's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know what that is. Like, why would I work at that dump or whatever?" And so like just like funny things about like, again, like being at that age, or like, you know what I mean, like trying to find your way in the world and like kind of get your personality, like, and like trying to fit in with people and kids your age and this kind of stuff. And like there's a great scene where they go to like a mall parking lot kind of thing, where it's like one of those stacked ones, and you see like this 2-page spread of them like zooming around skateboarding down each you know what I mean, like each floor. So just some fun art, fun storytelling, kind of like slice of life type stuff. And yeah, it's a good time. I just like this time period, and I like the idea that this is a comic book, which is just seems like there's not enough of this kind of stuff out there, nor has there ever been. Oh yeah, and there's also a part at the end of the issue where they make fun of some rednecks, and then they try to run them over with their car, essentially. And at the end of the issue, the kid comes home bloodied and fucked up, of course, from the skateboarding and the fact that these rednecks chased after him. Comes in, and the parents are just oblivious, sitting on the couch watching TV, and he just goes to his room. So I don't know. It's I was too young in the 80s, but it does feel reminiscent of a time and a period. And it sounds like it's true to these guys' experiences, maybe being part of skateboard culture and this kind of stuff, and just growing up during that time period as a teenager. So yeah, I give this a 4.25 out of 5. I find it a lot of fun. And it's a 7-issue miniseries, but they did say, depending on what they feel like doing afterwards, they may return and do little miniseries in this world with these characters. So yeah, good stuff. Next up, we got Vengeance of the Moon Knight number 6. This is the end of the first arc of this Jed MacKay relaunch of Moon Knight, where Moon Knight was dead at the end of his last run, and somebody else was wearing the Moon Knight costume. But then in this issue, amongst all the vampire stuff going on with Blood Hunt, because this serves as a Blood Hunt tie-in, by the end of it, as I mentioned, you see the moon uprising, and I guess what we see in Blood Hunt is what is going to occur in this book, is that Moon Knight or a bunch of Fist of Khonshu or somebody dressed as Moon Knight is going to come back. I guess we'll see what happens there, and we'll see where the story progresses from there. But I guess the big thing in this issue, that happened, was there's like a faction of 2 of the people that are on Moon Knight's team are actual vampires, but they're not bad vampires. And there is another group that's like a triad, like like an Asian, gang of vampires that also lives in New York City that they don't get along with up till now. And in this issue, they come forth and they offer them aid to come join their group, because they're also vampires, and a couple of Moon Knight's crew are as well. And they're like, well, no, we're here to help the people, and you guys are only looking out for yourselves. And so, no, we're not going to join you. And they're like, we're the enemies now. Don't you see that? Like, everyone looks as vampires as bad at this moment. They're like, no, we're going to still be here for the people because that's what Moon Knight would have done. And so they kind of don't see eye to eye in that regard. And this whole time they've been trying to track these guys down during the first arc prior to Blood Hunt. And then now when they finally actually got a hold of these people, it just didn't go the way they wanted it to. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah, overall, I still think this is a good series, and I'm interested to see where it goes past like this Blood Hunt event now, because obviously some of the events of Blood Hunt are going to affect Moon Knight in a big way. So I guess and Jed MacKay's been writing both, so we'll see what happens. I give this a 3.75 out of 5. I do quite enjoy it. Next up, you got Universal Monsters, Creature from the Black Lagoon #3. I think this is 3 or 4. One more issue to go. This is just not that interesting to me, to be honest. Unfortunately, I'm 2 for 2 and not really enjoying these Universal Monsters miniseries. I've given them a shot. I honestly would be completely out if it wasn't for the next series being written and drawn by Michael Walsh, who has probably been the most interesting of the creators that have worked on these books as of yet for me. And he has experience doing horror. He's the one that wrote and drew the Silver Coin anthology. So that was a big fan of. So I'll stick around and read Frankenstein, Universal Monsters miniseries, which is the next one. And there's one more issue to go on this, which I've already pre-ordered. But this just hasn't been all that interesting to me, to be honest with you. This woman continues to track down this bad guy in this story, and meanwhile the place where she's trying to track him down in, the Creature from the Black Lagoon is in the water here, and tracking her, it seems like, and people want to track him down and get a hold of him. And I guess the big twist at the end of this issue, which I will give him credit for, it with one issue to go, they put an interesting element into this, I thought, was because I don't have the art for this one either. It looks like the guy she's been tracking down this whole time has somehow disfigured his body in a way where he's made himself into a creature from the Black Lagoon. I don't know. I think he's become obsessed, and that's, I guess, why he's in this part of the world, which we weren't aware of up till now. And meanwhile, this girl's just been tracking him, and he turns around in this one where she actually tracks him down finally, and he's like mutilated himself to the point where he looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon. So I don't know. It's just weird. So I give that like I still got to give it a 3. I'm just really don't have much interest in it. Almost 3.25 for that ending, but overall, it's not like a series I'd ever revisit or think of double dipping on. All right, Chris, next up, we got Zatanna, Bring Down the House #1 with our beautiful Artgerm covers here that we picked up.
I have to go for the Artgerm.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It is.
What'd you think of this, Chris?
That's okay. Don't have much history of Zatanna there, and this kind of, I guess, is like, I don't want to call it her origin, but it's just shows some of I guess what she's up to when she's not part of the Justice League, and a bit of a history when she was a child. So it was okay there. Some kind of wacky stuff going on. I thought the art was decent. Wasn't too keen in the beginning, but as it went on, it sort of grew on me. And the story's pretty, it's kind of ho-hum right now, I have to say, but it's okay.
I think I like this a lot more than you did then. I do think it's true. It's pretty, they definitely took their time to tell the opening of this story in this first issue. I think it's like a 6-issue miniseries, if I'm not mistaken. These are oversized issues, and I think it's under the Black label, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. Javier Rodriguez, who's the artist on here. This might be his, I can't remember if he's done other DC work. Like, he mostly was an artist for Marvel. I've loved a lot of things that he's drawn over at Marvel, so I'm a huge fan of the artist in this, and the colors are really stand out. They really stand out. He actually also did the colors on this issue. Like, I think majority of the time, I feel like he does his own colors, this artist, because they're very vibrant, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it does really stick out, like, more so than other comic art. I think the types of colors he chooses to use with his art. So he provides the color art and the art in this, and I'm a big fan of his. So that goes a long way for me in that regard, this issue. That being said, yeah, it was a slow start, I think, to what the story that they're telling here so far, but I did find it charming. I did like a lot of aspects of it. Like for me, there was an interest. I like how she's just working in Vegas doing her like stage show. I like that she's not a big deal magician in Vegas. Like seems like she's like, it's free with like, it seems like you get a ticket to the show that's free with like, I think she mentioned with like, if you buy something,
water park or something.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. I liked the whole Vegas setting. I like how she's like, you know, she's got her own hotel room and stuff like that. And I really liked, there's a scene here where like, also like the look of her. I like how they kind of had her dressed down at certain points of this story, because obviously Zatanna is one of the like, you know, better looking kind of like cheesecake-ish characters you can bust out in the DCU, but they do have moments of her like where she looks really good, and then they have other moments where like she's jogging at one point, she's dressed down, you know, but like when she wakes up in the hotel room, she's kind of naked, but they kind of have her like they smartly like they cover her up somehow, like, you know what I mean, like the way she's like going around her hotel room and like and like, you know, there's just moments of her just like in everyday street clothes and this. So like I really liked the approach to the character in that regard too, because they're like, you know, once she's all glammed up, she's obviously Zatanna, she looks great. But there's like, you know, moments where she's just like an everyday kind of person, or she's trying to play one off as well in her everyday life here in this sense, right? And I think it's just more about a story about her. It's not really talking about her being like a part of the Justice League or like a superhero of any sort, right? Like she's just doing her thing here in Vegas. She obviously has powers and all that, but I guess we'll see where it goes. This was a fantastic double page spread, I thought, like when she opened up her show. So yeah, there's some good stuff in this issue. I just really liked it. I love this moment where she looks down in the dumps and she's signing like autographs after the show. She just looks like she's had a day. You know what I mean? Like the way that the artist was able to depict how tired she looks in that moment where she's like, yeah, whatever, kid, here you go. Like, so
that's a bit of a Human Target vibe to it, you know?
Yes, which is also a DC Black Label book. So I think like that's the angle, I think, on the superhero DC Black Label books is like, yes, these are those characters, but this isn't in the grander scale of the DC universe. And that,
well, there's no big event. This is what they're up to, you know?
They're more character studies, I think. Which I love. I love that. So, like, for me, with that and the Javier Rodriguez art, this was a slam dunk, this first issue for me. I liked it. But you're right. It was slim, I think, in terms of like what actually occurred in this issue. But I'm looking forward to more. I'm in for the run for the mini series for this one. I
think I got the 2 and 3 on the solicitation list.
They're all great covers. They're all great covers so far. So I mean, as long as they keep doing that, I think Chris, you might be in for the long haul too. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening. I'm really happy about that too. That the covers, like, believe me. And by the end of it, it looks like the villain kind of shows themselves here. There's some woman that's been showing up at her show constantly that she's like, oh, my biggest fan is here. Like, what's up with this woman? And she calls her out, and then a bunch of weird stuff starts to happen. And then it seems like Zatanna, her father, either speaking beyond the grave or something's going on there. We really don't get the full picture of what's happening at this point. I really like how in this picture though, in this art, how they showed all the people running around the border of the page, like running out of the show. That was kind of like a cool little touch that the artist did. And yeah, I get a feeling that she fucked that kid up by accident when she was young. Like, that's what it seems like, because they keep flashing back to her when she was younger, and there was a bully that used to bully her, and then her father showed her how to use magic for like real magic when she was younger. And I think she did something to this kid. Like, she killed this kid or something, or he disappeared. She made him disappear for good. So we'll find out what happens with all that, I feel like, as the series goes on. But yeah, good stuff. I really enjoyed it. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.5. I'd like to push it up a bit, but I'm excited for more though.
I'll give it a 4.25 for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Verging on 4.5 even. I really thought it was good. Next up, we got Void Rivals number 10 this week.
Just
Did you
been
read
reading
this
this one
one?
online.
And you want me to take the lead on this one?
No, I remember this one good. This
Yeah,
was a
go
pretty
ahead.
good issue here.
Really
We
good.
got some big stuff going on in this one here. You know, we got that whatever that bounty hunter is. I don't know which transformer this is. I forget his name.
I forgot
But
to. Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, they're fighting, and that's kind of like they have some good banter in that fight because you know he's just a little man there, and the robots, you know, he's kind of taking it to the transformer. They're pretty good, and well, I guess until the transformer decides to take care of business, and he gets them pretty good there too. With doesn't he kind of stab him with a sword or something after he transforms into a car and runs
Yeah.
him over? And what else is going on with the one thing that confused me is those two main characters that were from the beginning that were stuck on the planet. They're still running around. I think the girl has been sick, but for one like moment that she seems to get her wits about her. Because doesn't he grab something out of her pocket and he's like wondering what this was?
Because I think there's an issue or two you dropped off of leading up to this, I believe, right? You didn't read. So basically, her brother, the guy that the transformer kills at the start here, is her brother, who's like some sort of like cyborg, half man, half cyborg bounty hunter that they sent after them. Because like the two people that were conspiring at the start of this issue are basically both of these characters like their own leaders, essentially, like because they've been at war for all these years, right? These two people. But it turns out in the shadows, they've been somewhat working together to make it so they don't get along, their people together.
Yeah, it's like a fabricated war or something.
Exactly. So basically, they sent that person out there to kill or get his sister back and kill the other guy. But it backfires because they run into one of these transformers here, and that's what he takes them out here in this issue. And then basically he mentions they go inside of his ship, and there's like these I don't know, these like
whatever those jewels on their head are like some energon ports or something.
Exactly. So there's these jewels on their head, and what he tells them, at least what I got out of it, Chris, the gist of it was he says that ring, that planet that they live on, is actually something that produces energon, apparently. Yeah. So I think that's the reason why their people are like at war, because I guess they provided energon to maybe like to the other people in the universe that require it, and they don't even know what their ports are even used for. And the whole reason he was able to save her because she got injured in that fight with her brother is because he was able to tap into that and somehow like heal her somehow.
Yeah, maybe just plug her into some energon.
Yeah. So, but there's, I don't know like the full story because we don't know it at this point, even as readers, but it seems that they are able to produce, they're from a planet that's able to produce energon unbeknownst to them. And they're in the middle of the war as a result of that, or a fabricated war for as a result.
Well, and then there's they're called Zertonians or something, yes. And then supposedly that transformer was telling the story about one of the Autobots that kind of left Cybertron looking for a new source of energon or something, and I know that it was the name of that Autobot was Zerda or something, Zerda the Wise. I forget what kind of word they.
Yeah, I have it right here. He says because they talk about the sacred ring, which is like their like actual like planet, right? And he says a sacred ring. It seems to be an engine that generates energon that fuels it for a purpose I have yet to discern. And then he turns to her and he says, Cybertronian Solila, don't you remember? That's what Jetfire called himself, because Jetfire was the guy that was at the start of the series where
when they're stuck on some planet there, Jetfire.
And they didn't know at that time that this whole Energon universe was going to be a thing, right? That was like the big reveal, right? So, and then all of a sudden he's like, Jetfire, right? So like Kirkman is pulling it off, man. He's weaving this right in with everything going on in the story. These Zertonians are characters that he created for the purpose of involving a new species in this.
Yeah, like they're closely linked to Cybertron in some way that's yet to be determined, but it looks like they're a big part of Cybertron.
Yeah, just when I thought this book was not really gonna touch on more past the stuff that they did in the first arc, because they teased a little bit and then it kind of more focus on these characters. He brings it right back around with these last couple of issues, and it's just like, oh no, this is a big part of this story. Actually,
yeah, like you figure they get some crazy cameos. You know, he sells some copies. You know, he gets some. Like, oh, a Transformer showed up in here, and he flies away. It's okay, that's it for Transformers.
Right.
You know, and they're never be heard from again. But like you say, it looks like it's going to be a big part of this world.
Yeah, yeah, this was just her name was Zertrion. That's the person. Yeah, Zerda Trion. That's the person. Zerda Trion. Yeah. What does this Trion mean? He says it's a title that denotes great wisdom and authority. So yeah, the fact that he's, again, I just think Kirkman's doing a really good job by weaving this into the bigger tapestry of these Energon books. And a little bit of comic book news for you guys here. They just announced that the new G.I. Joe ongoing series is going to launch in November. And the same team that did the Duke miniseries, Tom Riley on art and Joshua Williamson writing it, are going to launch that first ongoing G.I. Joe series that's going to tie in the rest of this Energon stuff after the miniseries end. So yeah, that's just, I'm so pumped for that now. Like, I was like, that's a good team, because I think Tom Riley, out of all the artists, has done one of the best jobs for that G.I. Joe look, I think, in that Duke miniseries. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that. So what'd you give this issue, Chris?
I'll give it a 4 for sure.
Yeah, I go even 4.25. Yeah, it's great. If you guys have been ignoring Void Rivals as something in the Energon universe, it's time to jump on. What's that?
Definitely. I have been I have been avoiding it, or sleeping on this one for sure. Like, I thought, okay, this is it's just nothing to do with the Energon universe. They're just going to have their own little world here, but it looks like it's being weaved in there in a good way.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. It really hasn't been focused on that the last few issues, right? It's been more so focused on these characters, but I think that adds to the overall story now moving forward once they start to weave in the elements of the Transformers and, eventually G.I. Joe. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Next up, we got Harley Quinn 41. I got this great lyrics cover for this issue here.
Cover. I just read this one online.
Yeah.
And this is what the Harley Quinn comic should have been. I wouldn't say this is a great comic, but at least it's been a grounded comic where Harley Quinn is the freaking weird one and, just kind of reacting to normal things. Because after reading this one, I was kind of thinking what I didn't like about Harley Quinn and all those last ones, like Harley Quinn is supposed to be chaos, in a sane world. But in all those other comics, where she was going through the multiverse, it was chaos in a chaotic world. And for whatever reason, that just didn't work for me. This one I thought was a bit better, where, just kind of Harley Quinn's doing what she does, trying to explain everything that's going on there. And I enjoyed this issue. Like, it wasn't great, but if more of her stuff was like this, then I probably would be still on board this comic.
Yeah, I agree with you. This felt a little bit more Looney Tunes in that sense. Like, I like how she was talking to the characters using boards for half of it, right? Because she was wearing a wire and she was trying to make it seem like, you know what I mean? Like, she was trying to talk to these characters throughout it. I don't really understand why the cops want her to, that's kind of weird though. The fact that the cops want her to work for them and be, wear a wire to against the heroes for some reason. I don't know. That's a little lost on me. The plot of it still a little bit I just think it's a stupid reason that she's doing all this kind of stuff. But you're right. At least they're veering away from, I felt like, the annoying multiverse storyline that they did prior to this that just didn't really work for her. And this feels a lot more grounded and like you said, she's weird, but she is working alongside heroes and villains and doing her thing. And she's still going about it in a very Harley Quinn way, let's say. And now she has the cops who find out that she is working against them at the end after she goes and tries to give Maxie Zeus some food, and he's an idiot, and he fucking the cop finds the note that she left for him in the stuff there, and so now it looks like she's gonna be up against her next issue. We'll see what happens there, but like you said, it wasn't great, but it wasn't. It seems like the story's a bit better than it was prior to.
I felt the story wasn't bad.
Yeah,
where things have been bad before.
Yeah, what'd you give this?
still get a 3.5, but that's high
Oh,
mark for Harley Quinn lately.
I was about to say I wouldn't even go that high. I'll probably go 3.25 for this still. It's still not that interesting to me, but it is better, I think, in a way. The backup too wasn't good in this one, so like that's it, if it was, I may have given it more, but yeah. Next up, we got Sacrificers number 9. Got that here. And Chris, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, it's with our little bird friend there. Does that guy have a name yet?
No, just Bird.
The pigeon or whatever.
Pigeon is his name, isn't it? I think it's just Pigeon.
Yeah. So I think in the last issue he went through that portal to try and see one of the gods or something there, and I think he ends up battling this god. Like I read this one a while ago, so I don't know how
so
how much I can remember there, but
so basically, you got it right. Basically, now he's going on like a vengeance quest of sorts here, and after he goes through that portal at the end of the other one, and then he also has godly powers because the drip of the essence from the kids goes into him. Like he ends up getting some of that power that the gods kind of feed off of as well. And so now he goes up against, like, the best way I can put it is the aquatic kind of like god of some sort, like
Poseidon or something.
Poseidon, yeah, exactly. So this is the first guy he encounters, and I guess he goes to fuck him up or get some sort of answers from him as a result of everything that has occurred thus far to him and his people. And in doing so, he ends up accidentally killing his wife. Like he knocks down a wall, or a pillar falls on her and kills her in this issue. And apparently he's like a douchebag to his wife too. He's like unfaithful to her and not a good guy. So it's just like, okay, but then she ends up getting killed as a result of what is going down here, and he freaks the hell out, and he ends up Pigeon there ends up killing a bunch of these the guards leading up to him, and then ends up fighting him towards the end of this issue and taking him out. But he does fight back. He ends up getting some good shots in or whatever, but he ends up getting taken out nonetheless here. And I guess he's just going to go on from here and see where his travels take him. I mean, he's not satisfied, it seems like, still by the end of this, and he didn't get the answers he wanted necessarily. Like he kind of says, like, listen, it's not my fault. He places the blame, on just the way things are done. He didn't know that the essence came from kids. So like, it's a whole thing. Like, I guess this is almost going to be like a John Wick situation where he has to fight his way to the top, or any of those revenge tales, to see who's really behind everything that has really happened to them, up to this point, right, as a people. And, who's the god behind the god, who's the head honcho god, I guess, that's behind everything that's gone down lately, right? Any other thoughts though on this one? Or
I'm just thinking this needs to be read in a trade or something, because it is good stuff. But once you're sort of away from that world for a few weeks, it's, I don't want to say it's easily forgettable, but it's, the characters just don't have that sort of impact until you're reading and putting it all together, I think. Like, I didn't get this issue here, before I was kind of, I want to, make sure I got my Sacrificers, because it has been good stuff. But, I think I don't know, if I don't get my issue, if they don't kind of throw it, I put it in my pull box, and if it's not there, I'm like, oh, well, whatever. I'll let it slide and just read it on. It's good enough.
Yeah, I think it's still doing it for me, but I can't slight you for thinking that way, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. With these creator-owned books, that's just how it is. I just said that last issue of that last Rick Remender book that I talked about, the death. What the hell is that one other one called?
Napalm Lullaby or something?
Yeah. Else? I'm dropping that for those very reasons, where I feel like it'll read better in trade. I still am not really, like, I haven't lost the through line of like what's going on in this story so far, the plot. So like for me, I don't mind like getting in an issue still, because I'm still really enjoying it. Not to say, like you said, it's not that you're not enjoying it, but like I get it. Sometimes these will read better in one chunk. So like I'm still sticking with this one for issues for now, but Napalm Lullaby, for instance, I dropped that because I felt exactly what you just described. I'm like, I'm not really following what's going on here, and you know what I mean. I think it'll read better as one as a trade, right? So, that being said, in the letter column, he mentioned that the next 3 issues, Max Fiumara, who's been doing a great job on this series, is not going to be drawing. He's actually bringing in another artist so he can get caught up. But the other artist is Andre I forgot his last name. He's the artist that worked with him on A Thirst for Vengeance, Rick Remender, and I really like his art too. So
okay, that's good then.
if he's going to bring in somebody else, I'm happy that it's like a good art. Like
he's not just bringing in some slacker to fill it in.
No, so I'm looking forward to that. So it looks like he's going to finish off the rest of the half of this arc, and then Max Fiumara is going to come back to the book. So I mean, if you're going to do that on a create your own book, because sometimes it sucks to have to wait for months for an artist to catch up. At least bring in somebody good, right? Like in that sense. So like he is a good artist, and he's worked with Remender before. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Anyways, what would you give this out of 5?
I'll give it 3.75.
Yeah, I'll give it the same this issue. Yeah. And then lastly, you got Drawing Blood number 3, the Kevin Eastman book here. That's semi-autobiographical, I would say. Takes it definitely inspiration, I feel like, from his life. I actually don't have the art on this one, so unless you have a good memory of what you want to talk about here, I can try to take the lead here, Chris, because I got the.
Well, I think I remember the story here. Doesn't he? I think what I recall from this, he uses some of his money that he got from selling movie rights to start a comic company, right? And then, the problem is I don't know sort of what's the true part of the story and what isn't. But then the guy he kind of hires as an editor or as like to run the company almost, he ends up killing himself.
Yes. So this issue is the funeral for that guy who killed himself.
And they're not too respectful at that funeral. I thought that was
the guy that he brings with him. That's, I guess, somebody that they work with in his company there. Keeps making comments literally at the gravesite. He's like, "Shut up!" Right? He's like, "Yeah." And
well, in half in the bag too, or he's just
he's on drugs,
or he's like extremely hungover or something.
Yeah, he's hungover.
So if this was Kevin Eastman, like I imagine the story is supposed to be based on Kevin Eastman, and the thing that he's doing, because they're talking about like an appearance at the New York Comic Con.
Yes.
And I think at the end he kind of he forgets about or something,
and he shows up, and there's an angry mob of people waiting for him there because of some of the comments that the guy before he killed himself made about him. So there's like a bunch of people like looking for him, like an angry mob of sorts at the con, waiting for him when they show up, and so that's kind of interesting too. And also like the mob there that he owes money to as a result of his his partner, the guy who killed himself, apparently owed the mob money, and now the mob is after him, and he had to basically give him 85% of his new movie deal of a yet produced movie that's going to be based off of his characters, right? So if that flops or something bad happens there, he's going to be out like owing these mobsters money. That the whole reason they didn't kill him is because he offered him up 85% of the growth of the.
But then you wonder if that's part of the true part of the story, like what the true parts are, because there's crazy stuff out there when they have these true stories. Like I remember, it's a bit off topic, but I think the Jersey Boys, there's that movie out a while ago, and supposedly that Frankie Valens, one guy in the band was like heavily indebted to the mob.
Right.
And then, I guess, kudos to Frankie Valens, who was singing there. He ended up just touring, and basically did all these tours to pay the mob back.
Right.
And, this almost sounds sort of the same idea here.
Yeah.
These guys kind of get over their head in some gambling or something like that. And and that's it. It's crazy.
But I think that's what makes this book for me even more appealing is that, this is, it's an enjoyable story, but to draw the line as to where the truth and made up stories actually are here. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting because even the comic books company that he showed in the past that he created with his partner here in this issue, they called it something else. But the comic company that he did actually make was called Tundra, and it's called something else that's like,
it's called Siberia. Yeah.
Siberia. Yeah. So like, again, like if you know that history about Kevin Eastman, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's why he changed that.
Yeah, like those rag dolls of the turtles and the the Siberia, like I guess you really need to know what's what, but
he did have substance abuse issues. Like, so like there is a lot in here that is actually true, right? So that's what I
I'm
mean.
feeling like the wilder the story is, the truer they are. And like the untrue parts might be, he was living in like the apartment he lives in or something like that.
Right. So yeah, it's a pretty enjoyable story, honestly. I'll truth be told in that regard. And yeah, I'm liking it so far. I think it's interesting. I think the art is good. Yeah, it's a good story so far. I like you said, there's some interesting characters in this. And by the end of it, they just leave on that scene with him showing up to the con where he woke up like 35 minutes before he had to be at the panel. And he gets there within half an hour and he's like, oh, good. I got 7 minutes before I got to be at the panel or whatever. And set up or whatever. And then he walks into the room and he's got an angry fucking mob there waiting for him. Right. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh no, this isn't good. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see where this goes. This has been actually a lot of fun, I think, so far. And even if you don't know anything about Kevin Eastman or his history, I think this is still an enjoyable
good story.
Yeah, absolutely. But to know that some of these things are based on stuff that happened to him is even more interesting, because you got people that don't know, like, they're probably the richest, like, fucking comic book creators that have ever lived, like, because of the boom of the success of the Turtles. They had more money than they could even imagine at that time. And like Kevin Eastman pissed away majority of that money on bad decisions in the 90s. So that's kind of what a lot of this story has to do with this Drawing Blood, right? So this character who's down on in the dumps in this story, there's a reason for that, right? Like, this is him. Like, they did not know the Turtles were going to be, who would have known that? Like, right? Like, it's going to be that big of a fucking deal, right? So it's pretty crazy, right? And, guess what? They did make movies of the Turtles. So maybe Chris is right. Maybe there is some involvement. I don't know, right? We'll see. But we'll see how this story, where it goes from here. So what'd you give this, Chris?
I give it a 4. I really like this stuff.
Same, 4 out of 5. Yeah. All right, Chris, what are you checking out next week?
Well, let me fire this up here.
That's going to do it for all the books that we want to talk about this week, guys. As I mentioned, like and subscribe, and check us out.
I can tell you about some garbage stuff I took a look at. I took a look at that Madripoor Knights.
Yeah. That
was crazy. I don't know. They all get freaking taken over by some evil force, and I don't know what the heck's going on there. That was all supposed to be about that first meeting of Wolverine, Captain America, and Black Widow. Sounds good on paper, but that story was just crazy. Let's see. I think there's some big stuff coming in next week.
I got mine up if you want me to go ahead.
This is for July 3rd?
Yeah, you got yours?
Yeah, I got it here. Sorry.
Right. No worries.
I'll probably read Doctor Strange, because that's been pretty interesting. And so Spider-Man Reign 2. Looking forward to that. I saw a preview of that. I don't know what the heck is going on in there, but it starts out crazy. That's for sure, right off the bat. Probably read get Venom 35. And maybe read the Bloodhunt Cyclock. And let's see what's for DC. Then we got Absolute Power, Batman 150. Looking forward to that. See where they're going there. Looks like it's kind of starting a new chapter in Batman's life. I think that's it for DC. Not a big week for DC. Maybe read Poison Ivy. Is there anything from Image next week?
Public Domain returns.
Oh, I got Local Man. That's coming out. I think I might have even ordered that one.
Scarlet, #2.
Yeah, I should get that. Might have the Scorched. Somehow they keep on giving me that one, but I still keep on taking it, so don't mind that. That's about it for me, I think.
Small week for me, at least, of things I'm physically picking up. I got Absolute Power #1, Batman 150, Birds of Prey 11. Public Domain returns #6. Looking forward to that. Scarlet #2. And then Spider-Man Reign #1 there. Two #1.
Spider-Man 2, yeah, Reign 2.
Yeah, Reign 2. But yeah, that's all I'm actually picking up physically next week. But like Chris mentioned, Local Man and a couple other things I might read digitally here. Let me just look through the list. I got it here. Nothing really there. Yeah, a bit of a smaller week, but some good stuff nonetheless. JSA, if it comes out next week, if like when it's supposed to, number 10, I'll read that. Almost at the end of that series, so I might as well read that online. What else we got here? Nothing else really, I think, from Image or DC. Yeah, Local Man and Public Domain for sure. Scarlet. And then Marvel. Yeah, Doctor Strange 17. Sorry, that's also a book that I'm picking up. It wasn't showing up on my other list for some reason. That's coming in. I think that's it. Not too much. Yeah, not too much next week. Yeah, that might be it there. So yeah, not too bad. All right, so that's the books that we're looking to pick up for July 3rd week. Tune in next week to hear us talk about those. Chris, your favorite book of the week, man?
Well, I think I'm going to give it to Action Comics. That's left the biggest impression on me.
Yeah.
I've been reading this for a while, and I don't think haven't had an issue like this that kind of hit me there. Maybe it's just the cover, but I thought the art inside was great, and the story was pretty decent too. With Superman and Lobo coming together, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, no, good pick. You know what? This is a tough one. Honestly, I think all of these could have made favorite of the week right here. Void Rivals, Grommets, Drawing Blood. Great showing for the Image books this week because this was an Image heavy week for me. Not very much DC, not very much Marvel this week. And I think those are all really good issues of these series worth checking out. But one did not disappoint. That was a new release this week that I was looking forward to. I am going to give it to Zatanna bringing down the house here. Again, because of Javier Rodriguez on art here. And like you mentioned, I think we tapped into this because this does seem to be more of a character study, DC Black Label kind of look at Zatanna. It's not maybe what you would expect from your usual Zatanna comic of her showing up in a book that has her either as the main focus of a character or side character even. So I'm going to give it up to that this week. But honestly, like any of these other Image titles, they could have taken it from that. I think it just inched it out. Based on
Void Rivals definitely is up there.
Yeah. And good showings once again from Grommets and Drawing Blood this week as well as Void Rival. Yeah, good stuff. Good week for quite a few of these books here this week. So yeah. All right, that's gonna do it for this week, guys. Thank you once again. Make sure to tune in, like, and subscribe weekly. You can follow us on Instagram to be notified of when these shows drop, or you can hit the notification bell to be notified of when these episodes drop every week. We've usually consistently been dropping it Sunday, Monday lately. So just kind of expect it to kind of come around then when they do go out. And we'll see you guys next week. Once again, thanks to Chris. And hope you guys are all enjoying your time out there and happy Canada's Day once again. All right, guys. Later.